Hey Tim, how you doing this morning?
Hey there, Fred. Pretty good. Pretty good. Looking at the world. It's crazy. Talk about madness. Looks
Yeah, oh
like Joe
yeah.
Biden threw us into a mad, crazy. I wonder about that. Did you see what Putin said overnight?
I know he was saying yesterday if any country or any country that provides armaments that strike Mother Russia is going to have a problem.
Well, yeah. What he did was they have formal protocols for nuclear release, and what he did was he loosened the protocol that said now, anybody who attacks Russia, and the question is whether or not he's going to call us put these new armaments in the Ukraine, since he's getting attacked with all weapons into Russia. He may have the right to use, according to his protocol, to use nuclear force. So he's just dialed it up a notch.
Right.
So Biden dialed it up a notch, and now Putin dialed it up a notch. Now the question on the table is whether or not Biden did that with Trump's urging. I mean, it's possible that Trump may see this as a way for leverage to say, you know what, I'll dial it back a notch if you dial it back a notch. It might be a negotiating ploy, but either way, Biden may have done this on his own. There's really no telling.
Yeah, I know. Who was it? I think it was somebody in the Senate. No, it was Blinken. In fact, who said we're going to do everything I can while we're still in office to send as much money and as much armaments to the Ukraine before we leave.
Yeah, this is a lame duck 60 days now. And the question is really whether or not Biden is in any control at all. Did you see that he missed the photo for the G20?
Yeah.
Um, this is really gold went up overnight. I don't know what it's doing now, but it gave up a lot of its gains. The
Yeah, it
market got
backed
hit.
up.
The market was off 500 this morning, and
Yeah, I saw it was down 200 and changes, though, or maybe a little less now.
it's wild days. It's
Yeah,
crazy. It's madness.
it's
This is the madness part.
it certainly is. I mean, there's certainly is. There's some scary times, without a doubt. You know what I was thinking about is we've been talking about Elon and Vivek and what they're going to do, and if we believe, and we've spoken about this, the BLS and Bureau of Labor Statistics have said that a lot of the gains that we've seen so far in employment have been government employment,
Right.
right? If Vivek and Elon are going to slash full departments and cut to the bone 50%, 70% of the government workforce, I think we're going to have 2 years of economic hardship.
Phew! Excuse
God
me.
bless you. God
um,
bless you.
we could see that, and it's we talked about this at our last conference. Um, you wouldn't want to own real estate in Virginia or Washington D.C.,
Right.
where this is concentrated. Um, yeah, um, you could see a move out of the public sector into the private sector. There might be some kind of grandfathering effect. Um, it's turmoil.
I saw one comment from either Vivek or Elon saying they were prepared, and these guys are speaking like they've got the mandate now. They're ready to go. They're in charge. They were one of them spoke about 2 years severance for federal employees. So that's where I get my 2 year window, because I think federal employees are going to sit back and they're not even going to look for the first year, and then they're going to start to look if they've got 2 years of severance built up, and you're going to get some retirement, you're going to get some attrition, people walking away. But if all we've seen is government employment gains, and we take that away and cut it, so there's no new employment from the government. In fact, we reduce it by 50, 60, 70%. I think we're going to have a big change in the way this country looks in the next year and a half.
No doubt. No doubt. And I've heard a lot of guys talk about this. It's not like we're inventing the wheel.
Right.
and the markets are sort of getting ready for it, and pockets are feeling it. It's concentrated really, I think, more in the Northeast. I mean, the first thing they're going to do is say, okay, we want a head count. Everybody show up. And he already said that. He said, you got to come back to work now. You can't operate online.
Right.
So I'm thinking like 20% of the people who claim to be working online are just going to chuck it in. There's going to be um, packages, benefit packages. Leave now, you get a lump sum 9 months or something like that, and you don't have to hang around for 2 years for your money. People close to retirement age are going to take that. There's going to be retirement packages and 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 ways to go to that. Don't forget, they still got a 2 year election to worry about, so Congress is going to weigh on this,
Right.
and they're going to, I think, hold their feet to the fire to the extent that they don't want a meat axe like he did to Twitter. I don't think we're going to see that. Um, 2 year severance sounds right. Combine it with some packages, some severance packages. Um, there's probably some kind of code. If you got X amount of years in, you're eligible for this. You can take this buyout. So I think buyouts are going to be the bulk of what we see. They'll do everything they can to release the pressure for this kind of bailout. But yeah, positive long term, very good. Short term, a lot of pain to get there.
Right. Right. And you're sneezing, I'm coughing. Uh, uh, and everybody has jumped in since the election. We've had big rallies, and I know the market's given back some in the last few days. But I'd be wary here. We talked about a month ago, pharmaceutical stocks with RFK. You can't be in big pharma. You can't be in the drug companies. Things like Kellogg's, whoever, all of these cereal companies. I think he's going to go after all of that. The red dye number 7, change all the food labeling. Um, I think there's going to be a big shakeup and I mentioned this to Maddie a couple of weeks ago. He thought I was nuts, but if you watch an NFL game, you watch any network TV, all you see is drug advertisements,
Yeah, right.
right? And that's one of the things he's been pushing is to limit the amount of drug advertisements, with the theory being that these drug advertisements are just blackmail to the news organizations. So, you don't look at us and we'll keep giving you billions of dollars in ad revenue. So what happens to the networks?
Well, the networks are, you took the words right out of my mouth because the networks themselves are under pressure for new media. I think if the election told us anything, it's that podcasts, guys like Rogan, uh, the new media is replacing the old media, just like cable TV kind of replaced network TV.
Hmm.
Internet media is going to replace the cable TV. So you don't want to own the cable companies.
Right. I CNN. I just think the networks as a whole, ABC, NBC, CBS, and I
I think
know they're owned by bigger.
they'll
What?
gravitate. They'll gravitate into streaming. They've already done that to some extent. They move into streaming. They'll just push more and more of their programming down the line with streaming. I
Hmm.
think the real question is whether or not the infrastructure could stand it. Are the pipes big enough to take that level of streaming? I'm over time there will be, but you got a lot of places are still running on copper. They're going to go to fiber optic at the
Well,
very
that
least.
was a big problem with the Tyson fight this past weekend, with a
Yeah,
lot of buffering from Netflix.
boy, it was awful, wasn't it?
I didn't see it, and I'm glad I didn't because I think it would have been a disappointment. But I heard it was terrible.
Well, the fight itself was a disappointment,
Right.
but the streaming was horrible. I
Right.
missed the first 2 rounds, which is the only place where Tyson showed up because my streaming kept packing up, and I was rebooting, and you know, you,
Ah,
uh, I tried to call in Hotwire, which is my carrier. I didn't reach them. Of course, you don't get them.
right. You're never going to get through. Right.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
what are some of your other thoughts now? What else are you thinking?
I'm very hot on the drillers. I haven't found a reason not to buy the drillers. Usually, you got two reasons to buy it and one or two reasons to sell it. I can't find a reason to sell the drillers. I really can't. I looked at the charts. Um, Historically, they're usually at decent levels. They've been coming off this last year or so, and I got a list of them. Um, I think it's probably like everything else. If you pick eight, five are going to be okay, and three are going to languish. But I mean, I think 2 quarters away, these guys are going to be booked up. As they free up the licenses, um, and everybody starts to get in line. Natural gas. We had a presentation by a guy from the industry the other day at my Thursday meetings, and he said natural gas is going to get the immediate flow for the next 2 years. It's natural gas. It's the cleanest uh, response. It's the most, I guess, readily available. I mean, nuclear maybe could fill that gap going forward, but there's a 4 or 5 year window for that.
So is the trade short oil, long natural gas?
Uh, Probably, yeah. Um, Natural gas, and I think natural gas carriers. I think as part of any geopolitical package, we're going to see deals to Western Europe. I'll replace Russia with natural gas. He's going to compete with Russia unless Vivek's plan to bring Russia into the fold is really something that's going to work. And if that's what they're seeing, then maybe Russian natural gas is an answer there. But they blew up that pipeline, so I
Right.
think natural gas carriers look pretty good, and they've got the Houthis back in the box, so it should take some of the risk away from traveling through that part of the world. So yeah, natural gas carriers, not natural gas carriers, and natural gas drillers, and there's a bunch of those, and oil drillers, I guess. Drill baby drill.
Yeah.
He's committed to that, and he's going to
You
do
got to
it.
listen to him, right?
Yeah, yeah. So I don't see any reason not to buy those, even if you're negative on the market.
Um, Interest rates, any change? Thoughts on interest rates? Back end still higher, front end lower, front end stable,
Uh, Steeper curve is with us now.
right?
Um, Inflation's an open question here. If you plug in the scenario of layoffs, then inflation is going to ease considerably. Demand is going to slow down.
Mm-hmm.
So inflation might not be the problem we thought it was 6 months ago. Um, the debt still has to be financed, but then again, you know, I mean, I could see Trump saying, "Okay, give me a list of everybody who's dead, who's collected a Social Security check in the last 3 years." That's low hanging fruit. And I guess if if you put a gun to my head, I would say get a hold of 5 or 6 people who could really um, create a report for what the most low hanging fruit is and attack those levels because Trump clearly wants to win big early. And if he could, over the next 3 months, from January, say, to April, by the time the spring rolls around, if he can point to 4 or 5 things, even 2 or 3 things, big things, that says, you know what, we've uncovered this, we've saved this, and I think that's the place. So low hanging fruit is, I mean, he's going to do it. The other thing is the Dems are fighting him for the military, and this is the question now. He wants to use the military um, to get rid of some of the I guess the irksome migrants, the migrants that have criminal records. Um, that's low hanging fruit.
Yeah, I saw something. Forget where I read this. They said there's 1.1 million, let's call them undocumented illegals in this country that have been given notice of deportation. So I mean, get those people, as you say. Those are the low hanging fruit. You got,
Well,
you know,
there's people waiting for a trial that have got prison records and stuff. He's going to get rid of them. And he
right.
wants the military to do it. And Democrats are saying no. So here's the question. I'm going to say that maybe a third of the people that supported Biden are have taken it the way sort of we took a lost election. I say, all right, let's give the other guy a chance. Let's see where this goes. Then two-thirds of that side of the electorate are diehards, and maybe one-third of them become the resistance, or half of that two-thirds become the resistance, and they fight tooth and nail. And I think they're going to lose because I think the country has spoken. If you take the majority that Trump has unleashed, and you add some of the Democrats that are ready to acquiesce, I don't think it's going to be politically popular to fight this. So you may even see some defections from the Democratic Party. You might see a couple of Democrat congressmen say, I'm going to move over. I know if I were the speaker, I'd be whining and dining them like crazy, trying to
Hmm.
find another Joe Manchin in the crowd, or something like that, both on on the Senate side and the House side. So I think there'd be a fair amount of schmoozing going on. And that makes me wonder about this Gates nomination. I wonder whether the speaker said to Trump, get this guy out of my hair. Do what you can, because he's a thorn in my side. And every time I do a deal and because I don't have the votes and I got to go along, this guy wants to throw me out. I don't need this, certainly at this point. So Trump said, all right, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to nominate him for the Justice Department. He's never going to get confirmed. And we'll suck him into resigning. And he'll resign, hopefully, so that this investigation doesn't see the light of day, which it will anyway. Somebody's going to leak it. And now Gates is not a problem anymore.
But he's been a big supporter of Trump. He was the one who nominated Trump for Speaker of the House. He's, even before when he was just a regular citizen.
No doubt he's loyal. And I think Trump has got something in mind for him that maybe doesn't require Senate approval or congressional approval. But I think it threw him there for two reasons. One, he gets him out of the speaker's hair. And number two, he's got a throwaway to say, all right, you know what? I'll give you Gates. Gates is out, but you got to give me this guy. Right. So maybe that's what's going on behind the scenes here.
Yeah,
Uh,
that is
because
that's 3D chess. Yeah,
he's such an obvious problem child, for the speaker. Uh, I mean,
yeah. He
next news.
fights he fights them on tooth and nail, without a doubt.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you got to admire him. I mean, he's a bulldog. He gets
Yeah,
his set and he doesn't give up. And half of me would love to see him go into the Justice Department and start throwing the furniture around and ripping down the drapes and setting fire to the desks. He will really, he
that's
will.
right.
Uh, he's a disruptor, and there's no doubt about that. And you need a disruptor in that job. But I would pick somebody like Judge Janine or Trey Gowdy. I mean, that's where I would go. You know,
Yeah, there's a lot of questions about Trey Gowdy too. Why did he resign right away? I saw some people bringing things up about Trey Gowdy that weren't too flattering. So I
yeah,
was sort of surprised.
he's sharp. I would pick Mark Levin. You know,
Yeah, but Mark Levin's got his pulpit. He does better, where
but
he's
he
at.
Reagan administration, and he was part of that legal framework. I forget what the name of that group is. A legal group that always is still active, filing suits, looking for FOIAs and different things. Levin would be a good guy, you know, and he seems to be going for media types. He just took the
Hmm.
box. The guy who used to be a congressman.
Yeah,
They put him on Department of Transportation, right?
I saw today Lutnick, Commerce Secretary,
Yeah, yeah, right.
still
So
hasn't named the Treasury Secretary yet.
The guy is going to have to be a genius to get this funding in line.
Unravel all of this. Yeah.
Yeah. Wait, you know, I keep thinking of your old boss Jim. I I hate to I hate that you can only fire a guy once,
Yep.
but get in, you see what he did. Um, it's almost week to week, and I've been scouring, looking at these markets, and trying to figure out what's the best bet. And the dollar's a two-edged sword. We talked about that. Uh, you could buy it or you could sell it, and you got a good arguments either way. But I think the drillers are the only thing that, that I can't find a flaw in that logic.
Hmm.
So that's
Yeah.
where I am. That's where I'm coming from.
Yeah. The dollar for me, I'm still negative short term. I think everybody's loaded. I think if we start to get some bad economic numbers, gives the Fed some room to cut again. It's going to put the dollar in a backwards spot.
Well, let me ask:
And
the Fed cuts by another 25 basis points. What happens to the 10-year? Goes up another 25 basis points.
now, if you would ask me that question 2 weeks ago, I would have said, yeah. If you ask me that question now, I'm not so sure. You
You,
know,
you feel more comfortable with the fixed income side of things?
I think where the 10 year is at now, it's probably properly priced.
Four and a half,
It's backed up enough.
440,
Yeah,
something like that.
yeah. And depending on the numbers that we start to get, and we're not going to get. I think you got to wait till after like the new year. You got to wait for the new year to come around till we start to see some data that makes sense. And not just because of the administration, just because coming out of the holiday, there's going to be a lot of different things going through. So I think you're going to have to look at data come January. So right now, for the next 6 weeks, we're in a holding period. You gotta prepare yourself for the next 2 years. I think.
Well, Russia's the wild card. Everything changes with Russia.
Yep.
I mean, overnight, you know, literally
Yep.
overnight. It happened overnight. Um, and the other thing is crypto. People are running into crypto in a big way. We're up what, three, four
Nine,
percent
92,000 now, 91,000.
for Bitcoin. Yeah,
Yep. Yeah.
and people are convinced that this administration is going to embrace Bitcoin in a big way, and Trump seems positive towards it. Musk likes it. He's a crypto guy. But my
Hmm.
concern about Bitcoin all along has been the AI revolution. So the only thing I feel real comfortable with is drillers. So when I see an opportunity, they sell off, I'll nibble it a little bit, put on a risk reversal or something like that. Um, and that's where I am. But you got to look almost day to day right now. This landscape's changing very quickly.
Foreign markets. I still like India. I think India is going to be a good friend to us, and I think there's going to be a lot of benefits. I still like Argentina. I think what Milei has done has been astounding. 2.7% inflation. So I think those are going to be long-term winners. I'm not sure where Europe goes. Japan, I think, is a wild card. I would be short the pound. I think there's a lot of turmoil coming out of the UK. You know,
Why is that?
I think Starmer, Keir, the prime minister,
Mhm.
is getting a lot of backlash. There's some issues that went on with uh, some illegals. Some, I think it was a rape and murder cases of some little girls, and
The
he
fact
was,
that they supported Trump, the Labor Party, supported Biden, it came so far against some, actually sent people
yeah,
and
yeah.
fund uh, the Biden camp, doesn't bode well for them at all. That is a negative.
But I think in the UK itself, I think he's under a lot of pressure.
But what would you short sterling against? You can't short it against Germany while Putin's on the rampage. Maybe Swiss francs, and I don't know if the liquidity's there to even call it a currency anymore.
Yeah, there is. I think you belong Aussie. I think Aussie's out of the fray. Sterling Aussie, short Sterling Aussie.
What's the carry on that?
I don't know. It's something I have to look into. I think it's got to be close to par. I don't know.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah. I guess short sterling, um, but not against the euro. Not against the euro. Definitely not.
Yeah.
Yeah. And against the dollar, you think the dollar's going down, so you wouldn't want to own that either, right? So you're gonna have to cross up that position if you're going that way.
Yeah, I got to look at some charts, some sterling charts, and think about some good entry points and where to get in. I guess the focus is sterling dollar, but I don't know if that's the best winner. It's two dogs in the race.
I'll tell you what got postponed by 5 years anyway is the BRICS. Uh, their last meeting didn't go well.
Hmm.
They they're on the back burner, and when Argentina said no, I think that opens the door for a deal. Because what Trump is going to do is he's going to do everything he can to destroy the BRICS. BRICS is a danger,
Hmm.
and any threat to our reserve status, Trump's going to fight tooth and nail. So I think that bolsters your long Argentine position because I can see a trade deal where Argentina becomes a low cost producer and picks up some of the slack from Chinese tariffs.
I think he's just going to be a friend to the administration. I think there's going to be benefits. There's going to be foreign investment into Argentina. He's fixing it, and the people there are looking for the answers. You saw the conversation that I had with Alex a couple of weeks ago, where we talked about the the um, the Argentine version of the BBC, 30-story building where they had people come in.
Well, I was just there. I mean, I was there 10 days ago, and it's impressive what's going on there. Um,
Yeah, I
that
remember you
that
saying
real
talking
that
to the
could
people.
benefit. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. All right, I think we'll cut it down.
Yep. Sounds good. Thanks for your time.
All right,
And
talk to you soon.
yeah. Okay.
Take
Bye.
care.
All right. Stay on.